Let's get into the 5-minute exercise snack, abdominals / core and hips. Positions today will be only on the back, and the second position we will have our feet up on a chair. The options today, we're generally just going to be using body weight, so we won't be using any additional equipment. If I was feeling uncomfortable with my neck and head, I would probably put just a little pillow or a folded towel behind my head. One more option, as you like, if you need it, you can also place a small towel behind your low back, a very flat folded towel to support that arch. We are working abdominals, core, and hips. Let's go. Let's start with the rib cage. We're going to work some of these obliques. We're going to take a breath in. The rib cage expands. We're going to take a breath out. The rib cage depresses. So those are your obliques. So one more time. Breath in. The rib cage expands at the base, and breath out. The rib cage narrows, tightening those obliques. We have some other muscles that wrap around. Let's take a breath into the belly. And when we breathe out, let's drop that belly and tense. You can feel the muscle harden. Breath in. Belly rises. Breath out. Okay, now we want to put both of those contractions together. Let's do a breath in. Breath out, my belly drops and my rib cage narrows. Now that I have that position, I am going to do just some little foot raises. So when I lift my foot, this is increasing the load. This is increasing the difficulty. So you could just work on that basic abdominal setting that we did at the beginning. If you choose to move your limbs, you need to keep the spine still. You need to keep the abs tucked in. I call this a concentration exercise because it doesn't feel that difficult. It's really about improving that awareness, that mind-body awareness. Another version is you do a little bit of hip motions in and out. So my knee is falling out and in, out, and in. And what I'm watching for here is that I'm not wobbling in my pelvis. I'm keeping my pelvis still and I'm moving my hip joints. So let me give you one other little perspective so it's super clear. Here's my pelvis and I'm moving one knee in and out and I'm trying my best not to roll my pelvis. So we call these abdominal stabilization exercises. Okay, I know, it's not that hard. So if you want to make it harder, you could lift one leg and lift a second leg and replace. There should be never any pain, any tension in your back. And if you want to make it harder, you actually lengthen your legs out and you will already feel an increased load. You're going to have to engage even more in those abdominals. What is strength? Strength is engagement. The more we engage the muscle fibers, the more muscle fibers we engage, the stronger we are going to be. And at some point in time, we'll just be able to turn these little muscles on over and over again and not really have to think about it too much. Perfect. Okay, we are down to another minute and a half. I'm going to pull up my chair. I've chosen to use this chair just because, well, one, you can see I'm wearing some extra special equipment and my little boot here. And I think it does make it a little bit easier on the low back because the hips are bent a little bit more than they would be if my feet were on the floor. So I'm going to start with my abdominals again. Let's breathe in. We're going to breathe out. Narrow the ribs, draw in the lower abdomen. Really, it's not just the low abdomen. It really spans the whole length of the torso. We're going to keep those muscles engaged. I'm going to squeeze my buttocks and I'm going to lift off the floor. So this is going to work my back of my hips, my glutes. You're going to feel it in your hamstrings. But I want you to engage by breathing in, breathing out. The belly drops. The ribs engage. I keep those muscles engaged. I squeeze the buttocks. I lift, and I'm just trying to engage my buttocks more and more without arching my low back. So let's try that one more time. Breath in. Breath out. Belly drops. Ribs narrow. Keep those engaged. Squeeze the buttocks. Lift. And back down. Oh boy, well there we go. That was exactly 5 minutes. So that was our 5-minute exercise snack for the core, the abdominals, and a little bit of hip work at the end. And those muscles, they tend to go together, right? We need a strong core to create strong hips. And, if you have strong hips, likely you have a strong core already. Not necessarily, but likely. So, before you go, 2 more hot tips when it comes to strengthening your abdominals and your core. Number 1 tip, try to keep your breath moving. And how do you do that? So when I'm doing all these abdominal contractions, let me just show you one more time. 1 breath in, 1 breath out, ribs drop. When I'm contracted, if I keep talking out loud or counting out loud, I will avoid doing what we call a Valsalva maneuver, which is when we bear down and it increases the pressure in our torso and ultimately up in our head. Number 2 tip is, remember, when it comes to abdominals, it is subtle. It is a subtle contraction. And so if you work really hard, you're not going to find it. And you're likely going to do that Valsalva maneuver where you increase the abdominal pressure, which can basically send your blood pressure upwards. So you do 5 minutes a day, several days a week, or every day, you have become a consistent exerciser. That is how little it takes. Oh, what's coming up? I don't know. Well, you better stay tuned. Follow, subscribe, or check out my blog, Sustainable Bod.